Let's discuss that aspect, the psychological profile of the shooter. Forensic psychologist Kris Mohandie and psychologist Dr. Erica Anderson. Yes, you remember Dr. Anderson from our story about transgender and detransitioning. It's good to see you again. Thank you both. Mohandie, let me start with you. From a forensic perspective, this fact, is it a distinction with a difference?
Well, I think it becomes an important origin for what all these shooters have in common is a sense of grievance that they're fixated upon. And so it is a reasonable hypothesis to explore investigatively that, this individual may have had some issues with navigating that. We know that transgender people in our society, unfortunately, are subjected to mistreatment, marginalized, stigmatized, and rejected, and have a lot of unfortunate negative experiences, as they are grappling with their identities and trying just to be who they are. And so that could be the seeds, of a grievance. The fact that it's a religiously themed school, could be the origin of a place where they felt rejected as they were maybe expressing certain ideas. These are hypotheses, but these are reasonable hypotheses that could be part of it, or maybe not, but definitely something that needs to be explored.
One bounce question to you, and then I want to go to Dr. Anderson about how we understand this person's actions. The bounce question is this, Mohandie. Usually they are at the school, recently out of the school, once in a while, some years later. But to target your middle school when you are 28 years old, when you know nobody in there is above sixth grade, what does that tell you?
I think that there's some sort of either perception of mistreatment that originated there, a grievance that became fixated upon that institution is one hypothesis. The other could be simply a target that they were familiar with, that they knew that would be soft, that they had access to, or it could be a combination of those features. But I would go with likely that there is a sense of mistreatment that originated there, that they're fixated upon. It doesn't make it right, but that may be part of what this is about.
Dr. Anderson, I know that you're not in the business of talking about shootings very often, but the reason we wanted you to come on is my gut reaction to this story was, oh boy, just what people needed. Another reason to go bad on people who are transgender and see them as now different in a violent way. And now I know people are going to say, oh boy, you're feeling bad for him after what he just did. It's not about that, but it's about understanding how this person got to this situation. What do you see in what we know so far, Doc?
Well, as we all know, there's more to come in terms of learning about the shooter. It's a highly unfortunate event. My heart goes out to these families, 3 innocent children, 3 innocent adults, and the shooter all dead in a horrible day. Too many horrible days in America like this, I'm afraid. I'm concerned that people would make too much of the whatever personal torment this shooter had that might be related to gender. We don't know yet. We'll learn more, I'm sure. It is true, as Dr. Kris said, that transgender people have it rough in America, maybe more so in recent years because of the publicity. There's a lot of stigma, marginalization. All the surveys tell us that transgender people in America have a rough road to go. So we could speculate, as we're doing, that perhaps this young person was experiencing some sort of personal struggle or torment, maybe at the time that they were a student at the school. It's an awfully long time ago for someone 28 to reflect upon events that would have occurred before this person was 12 years old. That's 16 years. That's a long time to harbor a grievance or a resentment. So one would wonder what's happened in the meantime. What mental health treatment did this person have? I'm suspicious because the person is 28, as reported, living at home with a family of origin. That's kind of unusual for someone of that age to be still living at home, if it's still, or again, living at home. So I'd wonder about that. The LinkedIn profile, which you've looked at, shows the person with their name, I assume legal name, which appears to be a female name, but the preferred pronouns are he, him. So one question that arises for me is, where were they in some kind of a gender journey? And were they partially through some kind of a transition, or had they just begun? I don't know. I would like to know. Perhaps we'll have another conversation when we have a lot more facts. But certainly there's no reason to indict all trans people as being violent. The evidence is quite the contrary.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.